Guys, there's been a big development in for the Supreme Court, 6-3, and that will affect crypto and the SEC's ability to harass crypto, although that has already been reduced by the courts as well. But this one will reduce it even more. So this development, what I'm talking about, is a Supreme Court has a landmark decision, and it rules specifically on the SEC. And Gary Gensler does not like this. So, in a landmark decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the U.S. SEC Commission can no longer, can't do it anymore, use in-house judges to handle securities fraud charges and impose financial penalties. So they can't just unilaterally decide it themselves. So it was a vote of 6-3 that this practice violated the constitutional right to a jury trial. So basically, they have to use solely federal courts to do this. So, they can't really just impose penalties or declare something a security without a jury trial, which will slow them down. And since they're losing a lot of these jury trials, it deprives the SEC of a lot of power. Historically, the SEC used an internal process chaired by administrative law judges to address such matters. The authority was granted with the passage of the Dodd-Frank Act in 2010 in response to the 2008 global financial crisis, but following the Supreme Court's decision, the SEC will now have to rely solely on federal courts to enforce securities laws and seek financial penalties. So they can't do it themselves. This deprives them of a whole lot of power, folks. That means they just can't go around harassing people, and it's going to cost them a lot more money to do so. So a lot of the stuff they did would not actually be possible if this was in place. The decision could have far-reaching implications for other federal agencies that historically been able to impose enforcement through internal processes, including the National Labor Relations Board, which faces a similar predicament. But this is very, very important for crypto investors because Gary Gensler won't be able to move as fast, and a federal court will actually have to rule on the innocence or guilt or whether the SEC is right or wrong before the SEC can impose penalties. This is a very good decision for crypto. Delivering the majority opinion, Chief John Roberts said a defendant facing a fraud case has the right to a trial by jury of his or hers before an impartial judge. Roberts criticized the dissenting opinion for allowing Congress to concentrate the roles of prosecutor, judge, and jury in the hands of the executive branch, calling it the exact opposite of separation of powers required by the Constitution. Associate Justice Neil Gorsuch expressed the same opinion. And he argues that the SEC's authority to punish citizens without a jury, without an independent judge, and with procedures foreign to our courts was a violation of individual liberty. Of course, we can just run with that because that sounds very good, at least for crypto. In her dissenting opinion, Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor called the decision a power usurpation and criticized the court for telling Congress how best to structure the institutions and ensure the rights created for the government are enforced. But this is very, very good for crypto. The SEC can no longer unilaterally decide something is something is wrong or something is a security without a trial by jury for its constituents. I mean, usually what happened before was the SEC called something a security, and then they enforced punishments for that before anyone got a trial, and that always seemed unfair. I don't think this will actually affect the cases that have already been decided, but it will definitely affect future cases, and it's a light on crypto, and it's kind of like a green light to a lot of crypto objects, especially in the light of the SEC losing a lot of court cases, because those losses do establish precedents for what's going to happen in the future. So if the SEC wants to impose penalties, say on Solana, Solana will have a right to trial by jury first before anything actually comes down or any exchange has to delist them or anything else like that. And then the SEC has to fight that case, win somehow before they can bring the hammer down. Obviously, that's going to slow Gary Gensler down. That takes power away from the SEC. That will affect the stock markets and everything else too. But the SEC has been doing a lot of the decisions against crypto, and this is another strike on Gary Gensler's record. The SEC's power is actually shrinking, not growing under his watch, and he is not liking it. Obviously, he hasn't made a comment about this, but realistically, this is a blow to his administration, and it will definitely stop some of his prosecution against crypto. He won't be able to drag out a years-long lawsuit against a company like Ripple or Coinbase and impose penalties on them without the federal courts imposing them first. So the SEC can't impose these penalties themselves. They will have to rely on the courts, which is something that they have not, which is something they haven't had to do before, and that is going to slow them down a lot. So I think, like, regardless of how the political situation shakes out, this 6-3 opinion basically means that the SEC's harassment of crypto will take a huge backseat, and they'll only be able to pick and choose the lawsuits that they think that they can win. And those lawsuits, my friends, are getting fewer and fewer in number because of the losses the SEC has incurred due to their own negligence or stupidity in enforcing their law or bringing up lawsuits in frivolous cases. So, yeah, not very good for Gary Gensler and the SEC. Very, very good for us crypto investors, and a great day for us. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.